So how do we actually solve the world's biggest problems? It's a huge question, right? And depending on who you ask, you get some radically different answers. Some people believe in massive top-down solutions, while others argue that the system itself is the problem. Today we're going to unpack 3 really distinct ways people are trying to do good.
And this really gets to the heart of it. Can the very tools of capitalism, markets, profit, big business, be used to fix the problems they might have helped create? Or are they the problem? Or maybe, can they be completely reimagined? Let's dive into that first approach.
First up, we have what you might call big philanthropy. This is the model of using enormous wealth and really data-driven strategies to tackle specific, measurable problems. And the poster child for this approach is, without a doubt, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
To really get what the Gates Foundation is doing, you have to wrap your head around this one crucial statistic: 3/4. That's the fraction of the world's poorest people who are small farmers. We're talking about families working on plots of land often no bigger than a football field. It's a massive and very specific group to focus on.
So with that in mind, their mission becomes crystal clear. Help these small farmers grow more and sell more. It's a classic, incredibly ambitious problem-solving approach. It's all about getting tangible results you can see and measure.
And how do they do it? Well, they've got this really comprehensive 3-part strategy. First, they invest in research and development. Think better seeds that can survive a drought, or healthier livestock. Then, they use policy and data to make sure investments are going to the right places. And finally, they work on access and markets. Actually connecting those farmers to the tools they need and the buyers for their crops. It's a very systematic, top-down way to engineer a solution. Okay, so that's the big, optimistic, problem-solving approach. But, and this is a big but, not everyone is on board. A really powerful critique has emerged that questions the very foundation of this model, a critique of something called philanthrocapitalism.
Wow. I mean, that's a heavy quote, right? It's arguing that instead of solving problems, big philanthropy might actually be making us okay with the very systems that create those problems in the first place. This idea just completely flips the script on what it means to do good.
So this gets us to the key term here: philanthrocapitalism. At its core, it's about merging the logic of business with the work of charity. You've definitely seen this in action. Think about Bono's Product Red campaign. It uses market tools like branding and celebrity power, what's sometimes called charitytainment, to push for social causes.
And this gets to the absolute core of the critique. Is this approach just putting a Band-Aid on the symptoms, poverty, disease, while distracting all of us from the economic system that might be causing those very problems to begin with? Now, to really dig into this, we need to understand a concept called structural violence. It sounds complicated, but the idea is actually pretty straightforward. This isn't about one person directly hurting another. It's about the harm that comes from the system itself, when the smooth functioning of our economy just naturally creates poverty and inequality as a byproduct.
Here's an easy way to think about it. We all recognize what overt violence is, things like crime, war, terrorism. But the critics of philanthrocapitalism argue that structural violence, poverty, a lack of access to health care, deep inequality, is just as harmful. The only difference is it's kind of hidden in plain sight. Just accept it as the way things are.
The Product Red campaign is a perfect and honestly pretty unsettling example of this paradox. So you buy a new phone, and a small donation goes to fight HIV/AIDS in Africa. That feels good, right? Of course it does. But the critique points to a much darker side. The minerals in that shiny new phone, they may come from conflict zones like the Congo, where the trade for those very minerals has fueled a war that has killed over 5 million people. So the question becomes, is the campaign solving one crisis while helping to fuel another, even deadlier one?
So, on one hand, we have the big top-down approach. On the other, this really sharp systemic critique. So, is there a third way? This brings us to the idea of social enterprise, which tries to build a totally different kind of solution, really from the ground up.
Now, it's important to know not all social enterprises are the same. You've kind of got 2 different camps here. Some see themselves as just a smarter kind of capitalism, using business tools to aim for a double bottom line, making a profit and doing social good. But others have a much more radical vision. They want to fundamentally challenge and reimagine what business is even for in the first place.
To make this feel a little less abstract, let's look at a real-world story. This is Pickwell Manor in the UK. A couple of families bought this place to run a business, but they decided from day one to build it around a completely different set of principles than just pure profit.
And this is where things get really interesting. The very first thing they did before making a single business decision was to write down their core values. And just look at this list. There's no mention of maximizing profit or growing market share. It's about community, justice, the environment. These values became their true north for everything they did.
And this quote right here, this is the heart of it. They completely rejected the core logic of endless growth that drives so much of our economy. Instead, they asked a really simple but profound question: what is enough? They figured out what was enough for their families to live well and made an explicit goal to give every last bit of surplus profit away.
And check out what happened next. That surplus profit didn't just get written off as a check to a random charity. Nope, it was reinvested to create new social enterprises, a trust that gives out grants, a renewable energy company, and even housing for refugees. The business itself became an engine for generating more social good.
Okay, so let's zoom out and pull these three perspectives together. You can see it summarized here pretty clearly. Big philanthropy sees the market as a tool to solve the symptoms of poverty. The critique argues that the market system is the problem, the thing creating those root causes. And social enterprise tries to get inside the system and reimagine its very structure from within.
And that leaves us with the final and maybe the most crucial question of all. When we try to do good in the world, where should we focus our energy? Do we put all our effort into solving the immediate, painful symptoms we see right in front of us? Or do we try to change the deeper system that might be creating them? There's no easy answer for sure, but how we choose to answer that question, well, it changes everything.